Hey everyone. Um, I wanted to come on here and talk about the personal attacks that you're seeing playing out in the the world right now, um, and how people's personal belief systems and integrity is being questioned. But it's the way that they're being questioned that I want to talk about. So, when it comes to um, personal attacks, what happens is someone who is under mind control will unconsciously attack another person for their beliefs and um, for their activities, right? So the way that that works, though, is that the person that's unconsciously doing that either has a program running in their consciousness or they have, sorry, hold on one second. Okay. They either have a program running in them that is making them act in that particular way, or they have a entity, right, moving through them. The other thing is that people can be put under spells, and that is dark magic. This can be done through the media, through social media, through movies, through television, um, through education systems. And we're seeing it now reflecting and revealing itself within the new education systems that are being implemented underneath our noses during COVID. Um, and so I don't want to create any trigger words, but I want to talk about, I think it's called racial theory. I think that's what it's called. So there's a new thing happening with teachers having a lot of conflict around teaching the way that they have up until now because they're being instructed and told that they have to teach race theory, and they may not necessarily agree with race theory because race theory is actually in and of itself not what people think it is, right? And so what's happening is the educational system is now being interfered with on a level like never before. So there's full activity going on and full push to create a Marxist, socialist, communist society within the United States. It's happening in other locations in other countries already, but United States was sort of the last frontier in terms of having total domination and control of the population. Most other countries are somewhat docile in comparison to the United States in terms of the people. And a lot of those countries, some countries have had their guns taken away, and so they have become more complicit and compliant to the authorities than the United States. So the U.S. population is definitely a wild card in terms of that because we have the Second Amendment, which is in our Bill of Rights. And so there's a lot of things happening within governmental policies that they're attempting to change the original Constitution, and they have behind closed doors in Congress, and change the Bill of Rights and practically eliminate the Bill of Rights in a lot of respects. So, but what we're seeing now also is virtue signaling and attacks on people from other people based on ideological ideas that um, don't actually make any sense, any common sense. They are distorted from the get-go. They're distorted from the very beginning. And so we have these politicians that are pushing these ideas and have, over a period of, like, historically speaking, these politicians are corrupt. And yet people are under such deep levels of mind control that they actually think that these ideas are forthright, that they think they're somehow, what was the word that just came to me? There's somehow that these ideas that these politicians have are somehow correct, politically correct. But the truth is they're not politically correct, and they're not correct at all. They're actually backwards. They're opposite, right? And so the problem with that is the opposite mind control program that is being pumped into the population is what people are reacting to and fueling violence with, and fueling these divide and conquer tactics, right? It's not natural. People that are having natural reactions to things are people with common sense that are saying, wait a minute, this doesn't actually make sense what's going on here. And so what's happening is people are experiencing this like divisive, sort of chaotic rift in their relationships with people that they've known for years, right? And the love factor, the love between those people is being distorted. Like, it's not being honored. And if the people that were having these reactions were of sound mind and they were centered and grounded in themselves, they would be able to see that what's happening isn't right. Like, what's happening doesn't make sense, right? They'd be able to say, with a logical perspective, say, wait a minute, this doesn't actually make sense. And so the people that are saying this, that are saying, this doesn't make sense, here's the truth, here's the evidence of the truth, are being slammed and are being attacked, and they're saying, that's not true, that's bullshit, blah, 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 by the people that are under mind control. And they're virtue signaling these people that are just plain and simple, they're just like not in agreement with these other people. And so if you're not in agreement with someone who's under mind control, they're going to attack you because you have to believe what they believe. Otherwise, it forces them to look at themselves in a way that they're not willing to do so. And so what it ties into, though, is fear, right? Fear and ego are the two factors that they use to hook into people through mind control and to fuel divisiveness and to fuel ideas, right? Through the ego and through fear of loss or fear in general. And so what's happening is the population is being duped, basically. And anyone that's witnessing or watching mainstream media, they are going to be more susceptible because they've been what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized and disenfranchised, right, by the world that we're living in today. And at the same time, so they've lost their sense of logical, reasoning. They've lost their sense of reason. And that's something that you can't lose, right? Because when you lose it, then you're not grounded, you're not centered in your truth, and you're not able to hold your own in your body. Like, you're going to get swayed and confused. So what I'm finding is the people that are coming to me are confused. They're actually confused. The people that are starting to wake up and see that something doesn't make sense, they're actually confused, and they've been kept in a perpetual state of confusion. And this is the problem. They're being kept in a perpetual state of confusion so they can't ground, So they can't have an original thought form for themselves. So they can't listen to their intuition, rather than them being being ployed by these deep state corrupt politicians that are trying to convince them that they are working for them, that they're going to help the humanity, and they're working for the public and for the public good. They're not. They're not. Anyone that attacks someone's religious beliefs and attacks the good, you have to question that. I'm sorry, but you have to question that someone is attacking the light, okay? When you can clearly see that these people that are being attacked are good people. Why is it that the good people are being attacked? You have to ask yourself that question, right? And then when the obvious corruption is and the truth is revealed, it's being censored, hidden, and denied, and also like reversed back onto the other people, right? So it's always about making the light look dark. So that reversal spell is actually a tactic by the dark. So what we're seeing right now is the reveal of the corruption of the Obama administration and the Secretary of State, the State Department, during the time of the Obama administration, and all of the things that went down during that time and what they covered up in terms of the Benghazi massacre and the murder of SEAL Team 6, right? So it's being revealed. There's enough people that know about it, and it's all truth, and it's coming out, and it will not be stopped now. And so now they're attacking in any way they can, but they've gotten to this point where they don't have anything to attack anymore. So what are they going to do? They're going to attack someone good. ACB, right? So they're trying to attack anyone they possibly can, and they're losing control. They're losing complete control of the narrative. And they need to lose complete control of the narrative. And the human beings in general are not going to tolerate this narrative continuing. There's a lot of complicit people still out there, but people are starting to wake up and see that this is not, it's no bueno. Our freedoms are not going to be taken away. We are going to fight to the death. Okay? We cannot allow the deep state, the dark forces, whatever you want to call them, to have their way. Now, here's my history with this, okay? I grew up in a military family. I grew up with a top secret engineer, okay? I grew up in a family that was directly involved with the Cold War, okay? NATO conferences, missiles, astronauts, NASA, okay? I saw a lot of things. I saw a lot of disillusionment. I saw a lot of lies. I saw a lot of violence. I saw a lot of things, okay? And I myself went through my own level of that within the industrial complex, okay? So, and I'm leaving the M out because you know what I'm talking about. So, I personally have been in the past targeted for my involvement there and me waking up. And once I woke up, and I was targeted up until the moment I woke up as well, but then once I woke up, it was like all bets were off. They would stop at nothing to annihilate me. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, you're going down, bitch. Like, that was the energy coming towards me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? And they would stop at nothing to destroy my life and to destabilize me. Okay, this hasn't happened in a while because I've stabilized, but it happens consistently in my life, and I'm a stable person energetically. And it has taken me, I'm 51, it has taken me years to be able to stabilize because their idea of annihilating me never stops. And now I've developed a system that supports me energetically so that I am not in such a vulnerable position, but yet I still am. I'm still vulnerable. I don't have a normal life. You guys need to understand this. I do not have a normal life. Okay? I am not someone who can just have a life, have a partner, have a house with a white picket fence. Like that doesn't happen for me. So I've had to work around that and understand who I am to them and understand what my role is in order to understand why they were targeting me and why that was happening in the first place. Okay? It's not just that I was a daughter of a top secret engineer and relatives with an astronaut. No, it was me. Okay? So the reversal spell, though, is to project the darkness onto the light and make the light look like it's dark, right? And by the way, nobody's perfect. Nobody's all light or all dark. It doesn't exist. We are what we are, period, okay? So there's things that I've done in my life that aren't in complete integrity, right? There are ways that I act that people think I'm narcissistic, that people think I take advantage of other people. And yet, there are other people who think I'm the most selfless person there is. Because I give of myself selflessly. I love people. I give my love and support to people unconditionally. And I hold a lot of space for a lot of people, and people don't know that. One person in my life won't know that I'm holding space for like 50 other people. 50 on a regular weekly basis. At least 50. Okay? So people don't know that. And they think that I'm just, holding space for them. I'm always holding space. And the only way that I can do that, though, is by holding space for myself. First and foremost, holding space for myself. Immaculate self-care. And right now, I'm not doing such a good job at that. And so I just stopped everything I was doing today, and I went and I took a bath. I forced myself to take a bath because I needed to do that. My body, I'm living in an environment that is actually attacking my body. And I'm having major responses to that in my body. Like my body is literally suffering from living in this apartment. So I have to stop everything I'm doing and totally attend to my physical embodiment in order to hold my center, in order to be with myself. And I have to give myself that. I have to take care of my soul. I have to take care of my body. I have to take care of my consciousness, and I have to take care of my relations with others. I have to take care of all these things. And then I hold space for everybody else. So it's like when someone personally attacks me, it's hard for me not to laugh because I'm like, okay, that's a projection. Like at this point, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It's just that you have to check in with yourself. You have to know yourself well enough to know what's real and what's not, what's a projection, right? And even if it may be partially true, okay, even if that projection is true, you've got to be willing to look at that too, right? So when you see other people projecting on and attacking people, right? And just going at them like 24/7, just like boom, 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 relentless. And that person is like, you guys are ridiculous. Here we go again. Really? You got to ask yourself, why is that person saying that? Why is that person saying that? Why would they be attacking that person so intensely if they weren't super fucking pissed at that person? And why are they super fucking pissed at that person? Because they've lost control and they're all going down. They're all going down. The corrupt is going down. The truth is being revealed. That is what you need to pay attention to. You can see everything across the board. Truth is coming out on all these levels across the board. Nothing they do, the veil has been lifted. Nothing they do is going to stick. Nothing. Because the veil has been lifted and it's not going back down. There's no way it's going to go back down. And we have to trust that rather than going into fear about this totalitarian regime. They cannot win. They are not going to win. Please hear that. They're done. So this is their last vestige at fighting to the death, which is what's going to happen to them, whether they like it or not. All the people you see play, the players you see right now that are attacking other people, they've all been indicted. Take that in for a second. They all have indictments for crimes against humanity, for human trafficking. This is no joke. This is not a conspiracy. So all of you who think I'm a conspiracy theorist, how about that? How about that? Not so much anymore, huh? So maybe now you'll listen rather than saying, you're crazy. At least I'm willing to do the research. I'm willing to pay attention. I'm willing to find out what's going on. I'm willing to look at the truth. I'm a neutral party. I'm not siding with one or the other. I'm just looking for the truth. That's all that will prevail in the end is the truth. So if the truth makes one party look bad and makes the other party look good, and then another truth makes that party look bad and the other party look good, I'm going to find out what the truth is, regardless of which party. But so far, the odds are stacking up against one. And all the dark reflection that's being projected onto the other is coming from the one that has all the odds stacked up against them. Because they have to figure out how to make the other side look bad. And it's unfortunate that we're in such a dualistic framework of reality that this is what we're seeing play out. But what it's doing is it's waking every single person up to the dualistic framework of reality so that we can step out of it into oneness, into unity consciousness. Because without us going through this right now, this upheaval, we all won't get there. Because a lot of us have fallen asleep. So we need to wake up. And the only way to wake up is for the upheaval to happen, right? So it's important. And it's so important that people want to deny it because they don't want to look at their lives. They would just rather stay asleep and stay comfortable. And yet they're so fucking uncomfortable. These people that don't want to look at it, they're so uncomfortable. They're screaming and throwing tantrums, but they're not willing to turn the lens back towards themselves. All they want to do is project out. And that is actually part of the grief process. Part of the grief process is you get so angry. First you deny, then you get angry, then you deny again, then you go into despair, and then you come into acceptance. And then you see the truth. And then you have to look at yourself and be honest with yourself. And be honest that this is truth. So all the people that see the truth are being called violent, racist, whatever, when really they're just awake. They're just awake. They see through the bullshit. So, the woke are not awake. You can't bullshit a bullshitter, you know? It comes down to that. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. So anyone who's authentic, who's been a bullshitter, you can't bullshit them. They can see through it. They know the truth. And the other thing is, the soldiers, right? When you are trained in the military, you don't get the entitlement of denial. You don't get the advantage of being spoiled. That's not your experience. Okay? You have to be rigorously honest to stay alive in the military. Straight up. So I have a lot of respect for the patience and the amount of tenacity that these people have, that they're not rising up and they're not going to war against these disillusioned human beings who are rioting and causing destruction. And these people are being paid. The ones causing the destruction are being paid. You need to hear that. They're not just going out there and doing this because they feel like it. They're getting paid. And they have a spell on them. It is very deliberate. It's not random. It's very planned out, very organized. They have little sheets of what to do. Are you kidding me? It's not an idea. It's reality. It's actually really organized and has been for years. I live in a city where they have one of the head chapters, okay? of two of the people you see, right, protesting or whatever. Two of them are right here in this town. Because this town, historically speaking, has been a progressive city, right? This town, this city, has been way left and liberal, okay? That's why keep Portland weird, like everybody comes here because you can be whoever you want to be here. And you're safe. And that's not without the help of the Portland police, yo. We have one of the best police forces here in Portland than anywhere. Like before all of this, you could walk around at night and feel safe. It's one of the safest cities in the country. Okay? Seriously. That's why I chose to come back here, because it felt safe to me. It's like you're living in a small town, but you're in a city. It's like literally that safe. You can walk around at night and feel completely safe. You're not going to have people coming up on you, behind you, and sticking a gun in your back. You're not going to have that here until this, right? So it's important to understand that this city turned upside down when the corruption was revealed. And the reason the corruption even got revealed is because they wanted to prevent what was about to happen. Because the underground tunnels here are vast. They're called the Shanghai tunnels. And they're used for human trafficking. So there's a reason why Portland was a hotspot. It's a hub, okay? So it's important to understand all the layers here, all the factors of what's going on behind the scenes. When you see riots happening and when you see big protests happening and you see all these huge things happening, it's because there's something going on underground, and they're locking everybody in their houses because they don't want anybody to see what's really going on. This has been going on for over a year, you guys. The underground stuff. Since July of last year. I mean, July of last year is when I personally had some involvement in what was going on. I was able to go in and clear some energy from some underground facilities. So it's important to understand that this is real, okay? And so this idea that it's a conspiracy and that all of this stuff is going on, when you see in mainstream media, they're like, you need to denounce QAnon and blah, 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 and it's a conspiracy, and it's a violent sect, and it's a cult, and it's like, oh my God. I am so surprised that the person that's being asked that question can hold a straight face. Seriously, like, I don't know how that's happening. I got to be honest. Because it's so ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, personal attacks are, in fact, a reversal spell. They are a projection. They are designed to make the person look bad when, in fact, the person that's doing the attacking, most likely, in like 9 times out of 10, or 99.999% of the time, that other person has an entity, an interdimensional being attached to them that is moving through them, and they are unconscious of that fact, and so it's allowed to just move through them, and they don't even understand what's going on with themselves. They're not in their bodies. They're dissociated, right? And that's important to understand, that they're dissociated because if you don't understand that they're dissociated, then you might actually take personally the attack. But if you can see that that person is not in their right mind, they're not of sound mind, then all of this stuff just, it looks ridiculous to you. It's just like, and the other part of the personal attack that I really want to speak to, and then I must go, is that they will attempt to attack your core triggers, your core trauma, your core traumas, right? So anything that has been a trauma in the past or something that you have a deep core trigger around, they're going to go for the jugular. They're going to go after that thing that you have the deepest, like either heartfelt feeling about, or that, you know, that you love deeply, like your religion or your faith, right? Or they're going to go after like some kind of trigger in you that's a pattern for you that's been there a long time. Now, these people may not know what your triggers are, but the interdimensional being does, and they will use that trigger to get at you so that it knocks you off your center and it puts you into a PTSD response, okay? So until you remove the core triggers, those things will continue to trigger you. But once you remove the core trigger and you integrate that which was your core trigger and you've come into resolution around those core triggers, then they can no longer penetrate those core triggers. They will try and they will think that they are going to be successful, but in fact they cannot. If you are solid in your countenance and you know exactly who you are and what you're about, and you're grounded in your physical body, your soul is incarnate, they cannot touch that. And until you are, they're going to do everything they can to keep you left of center. So that's my reflection and perspective on personal attacks. The key and the solution is to get in your body, to ground into your body with your soul intact, so nothing can come in, and establish a strong container for your body, your auric field. Seal up the holes, heal those places within you that are thin, that are vulnerable, because those are how they're going to get to you. What I love and respect about watching ACB is that she is impenetrable. She has been through 3 days of hearings where they have literally sent arrows and daggers at her, and she has not shuddered. She is solid in her faith. She is solid in her love bubble. She is solid in her container, and she knows her shit. She is a justice. She's a sitting judge already, and she knows all of it. And she doesn't need a notebook. She doesn't need anything. It's all up here. She's got it all. She's solid. I respect that. I have full respect for that. She knows her job. And the American public should respect that. And if you look with a centered glance, if you look from a place of reason, you can see that. There's no question about that. There's nothing there that isn't authentic. She is the most authentic person I've seen so far, honestly. So with that, I'm going to stop talking politics, even though we're all witnessing it every single day. And I want to share one last thing. I made myself an art journal. It's been taking me days on end. It's like so intense, but I started making myself an art journal with an old book. See, it says I love art. And it is literally like, yeah, this is funny. I'm not done with it. I just started. So, but I gessoed each page. Whoops. Gessoed each page, and as I go through, I'm going to be like, this one actually has a face in the clouds. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes. But yeah, like this is a watercolor one. So I gessoed watercolor ground onto some of them, and sorry, it's not gesso, it's watercolor ground, and then gessoed on the other ones, different things. So I have different backgrounds to start with, and then I'm going to be able to paint on them. See? And you can see through, you can see the writing, right? And the funny thing about this book is it talks about Marxism, socialism, capitalism, and I'm like, I'm just going to paint right over that. The name of the book is Manufacturing Consent. And so when I got it, I thought that it was about, consent. It is, but it's about manufacturing the labor process and people and workers and capitalism and Marxism. And I just think it's hilarious. So I just decided to paint over it. So there you have it. There's my new little art journal book. It's going to be fabulous. And then I have another one that's bigger. It's an old cookbook from Bon Appetit. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick the recipes that I actually really want and rip those pages out. And that will leave space for the ones that I'm going to glue together to make gessoed for my watercolor. So I'm going to do watercolor, a solid watercolor book, if it's possible, because I do a lot of mixed media. Solid watercolor book with the bigger pages, and it opens flat. And the binding has to be a sewn binding to do the best. The glued binding doesn't work so well. It kind of falls apart. But if you use a sewn binding, then you can like actually cut out the pages and the binding will stay pretty solid. And then you have to masking tape. I don't know if anybody cares about what I'm talking about right now, but this is so funny. The name of this chapter is 30 Years of Making Out. So I thought I'd leave that because I thought that was kind of romantic. But you have to masking tape each like place in here and then paint over it so that it solidifies the binding, right? So anyway, love you. I don't even know who's listening to me other than Jack. Thank you for being here. I love you. And Candy, I love you too. But I don't know who else is here. I see there's people here, but I'm going to sign off for now. Sending you blessings of connection and love from my heart. Have a beautiful night or daytime, wherever you are. Love you. Bye.